We start things off with the Kansas City Chiefs. They pick at 29 and 30th after the big Tyreek Hill trade. They need a wide receiver, an edge rusher, a defensive tackle. AJ, I'll let you start things off here, good sir. Who do the Kansas City Chiefs need to go after? Who's a must-have player for the Kansas City Chiefs in this upcoming draft that we will be covering live? Are you good now? I'm trying to stall here. Okay, you're good. Got it.
I know. I was like, oh, going to do something. And then you're like, hey, it's off. It's cool. It's great. I'm here. I'm ready to go. So
great.
This is a good spot. As it sits now, the Kansas City Chiefs have back-to-back picks. I think there are one or two things they should do here in this spot. I think they need to go with my pick, which I'll tell you in a second. Or I think they should trade out of one of these spots and move just a little bit back to get some more draft capital up front, as well as possibly taking some people early in the second round. So I do have them selecting one of these picks. Are you okay? Are you okay?
I don't know, man. Hold on. I think we need to stop. I think I need to stop it here. I think I need to stop you here. Because before the show, and it's not because before everything went down, I was like, the Chiefs need to trade up. And I was like, okay, well, our draft rules and the way we're doing this is we're not doing trades and stuff. But I want to get into this discussion real quick on why you think they need to trade down, because I thought they should package both their first round picks and trade up for a cornerback. But you say they need to trade down.
So I'm not opposed to that. What I'm operating with here is that they miss out on it, that somebody beats them to the punch, and then it's harder to find somebody to move up to. Because the target, from what I'm hearing, is the Los Angeles Chargers. That's the trade bait spot for everyone, apparently. Everyone's looking at this 17 like that's the best spot as of now, not counting somebody who may want to go up and reach for a QB. So I'm just operating. Go ahead.
Go ahead, finish. I'll go ahead.
I'm not saying they shouldn't trade up. I'm not saying they can't trade up. I was operating as if they didn't have that opportunity. We got to this 29 pick where my guy is going. And at that point, if they're making that pick and still have the 30th, well, then you give it up to somebody right on the outside that may be trying to beat the Lions to get one of those quarterbacks on the back end with the 5th year option. So it's not that I don't think they could or should trade up. The way I just plan it out, that was the way I kind of operated on it.
And to me, I think that they should package both their first round picks and maybe a late round pick, a 6th or whatever, to trade up with maybe a team like the Washington Commanders, who just wasted draft capital on trading for a player like Carson Wentz. You collect a little bit more picks. You're able to build a little bit more around Carson Wentz after the picks you've traded for a guy like Carson Wentz. And the Chiefs, again, draft picks aren't important if you're a team that's right on the cusp of winning that Super Bowl. So package those 2 picks. And I originally, before we were going through all this and I thought about everything, I said the Chiefs should trade up for a guy like Andrew Booth, the cornerback from the Clemson Tigers, if Stingley and if Sauce Gardner are gone. But that was just me. We're not playing that game. Aaron, you have looked confuzzled, frufruzzled, papastrelled, whatever made up word I can come up with to describe your feelings right now.
Well, I mean, you want to trade up. AJ wants to trade back. The Chiefs, first of all, just acquired this pick. They have 8 picks in the first 4 rounds. This is a team that is in need of a lot of pieces. It's not just, we can go trade up and get a corner and we're set to go. Like, they have other needs on that defensive side of the football. I really don't see them moving up, especially all the way up to 11. I think that's going to cost more than just that extra first round pick. I think that's a lot.
I don't know.
To move up that far. If you look up that far. And is Andrew Booth really a lockdown corner? Are we sure that he's going to be a stud in this draft? That, to me, that's a move that you're not making from where they're at right now.
You sit back and wait for Andrew Booth.
They moved up to 11 or 12 or 10 or whatever it was to get Patrick Mahomes. Remember that, okay? Like, to move up to get Andrew Booth, who I'm not saying he's not good, but there's no sure guarantee that guy's going to be a shutdown corner. And I think when you look at their depth chart, they have a good amount of veterans there. L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton, guys that have played, and then you get maybe a flyer in DeAndre Baker who didn't work out in his first stop, and now you can bring him in there where he did play a little bit. I don't think necessarily you have to move all the way up to 11. I think that's an extreme move. Trading back, I don't think they need to do it either because of the fact that they have so many picks already. Unless you're talking about future picks. Now, if they want to get rid of one of those firsts and acquire a first the following year, or a second round pick and maybe another third round pick the following year, then maybe. But I kind of think KC stays pat in the first round. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of wiggle room there. And I think there's some guys right where they're at that are some interesting names. And we'll get into some of those names in the next few minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I just, before AJ, before you go here, I want to let everyone know that this video is clipped on YouTube perfectly for you Chiefs fans to watch. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Should they trade up? Should they trade back? Should they stay put? Who should they take? Comment below and make sure you subscribe to this YouTube video. Lots more Chiefs content and so much more NFL content throughout the Sack City pod. AJ, who do the Chiefs need to target in this draft?
All right. So, as I mentioned, I'm going with a DB, and we're looking at round 1, pick 29. It's the Chiefs. We don't care about what they're going to do late right now. We want to hear about that hype pick that they got. And for my hype pick, I am taking Daxton Hill out of Michigan, the safety. So, this guy, I heard a lot about him climbing. You know, when he started, they had him a little lower. But now I'm thinking it's almost a surefire thing that he's going to come off in the first round. This guy gets it. Elite speed. He can accelerate in a hurry. He's one of the best blitzers I've seen from the safety and the defensive back position in this draft so far. And that's not to, take away from anybody else. Just what I've seen, I've been very impressed with. He's got great ball skills. He comes in hot as a tackler, as you can see. And the best part about this is Michigan's been doing this for a while, having these safeties that kind of hybrid. You all remember the Jabril Peppers of the world, the Jordan Lewises of the world, these guys that can do a little bit of both. And Daxton Hill is the best part of that. What I like about him to the Chiefs is whatever they figure out with Tyrann Mathieu, let's say Tyrann Mathieu ends up moving on. Well, now you got a guy who can come in at safety, and no, he may not be Tyrann Mathieu year 1, but he's a guy that you can have a lot of confidence in that he can become very, very solid and very, very good for that back end. And if Tyrann Mathieu does stay, he's played a lot of slot cornerback at Michigan. He's played on the outside a little bit. He can be a guy you can scheme around in that secondary. So I really like this pick for them. I think it gets them somewhere where they're not waiting till week 7 and 8 to be good on the back end of the defense. They can start that in the earlier part of the season and set themselves up much better starting this year, 2022.
I like that pick a lot. I like the position pick there. I'm higher on other cornerbacks than your guy, but I do like that pick. I do think cornerback is the pick, or defense is the pick for the Chiefs at 30 and 29. I will go next here, or Aaron, are you?
I hate the pick. I hate the pick. First of all, the only thing that I will say, there's one good thing I like about the pick is he fits the scheme of Steve Spagnuolo, because he's basically a cover 1 type guy, a cover 3 type guy. He's going to play man. He's really, really tough in man. But this is a guy that he's smaller. He's not going to be really good around the line of scrimmage, even with his tough. And you mentioned like his willingness to get in there and tackle and blitz, and he's really, really good at it. But the NFL, you're playing against bigger dudes, and this guy's just not big enough for me to play him around the line of scrimmage, which means you're playing him in the back end, who you just got Justin Reed, who's really good on the back end. So I'm not really sure they fit well together. And then you still have their current other safety now in Juan Thornhill, who has played in that system and has some experience there. I don't love the player. I like the position, but I don't love the player and his fit, just with, again, how small he is. I worry about that size and what he's going to be asked to do on that defense. Because if he's taking over that Tyrann Mathieu play around the line of scrimmage and be all over the field type role, he has the toughness. I don't know if he can withstand the physicality of that style of play. So I'm not in love with that part of it.
Right. I mean, and I would imagine that any of these guys coming in at 6 foot 191 plans on packing on as many pounds as they can before the draft. He's one of those guys to me, though, that has been small his entire life and has been able to find a way to succeed. So, like, the way that he comes downhill, the speed, the aggressiveness, his technique when he tackles, the fact he doesn't let people slip out, those are the things that I think will allow him to still be small and still make plays. I don't think he's going to be the best guy out of this draft from this position or anything, or at least
like I'd much rather have
in year 3 or 4.
I'd much rather have Lewis seen here, like than a Daxton Hill. And to be honest, I think you're going to start to. I think a lot of these safeties end up falling. I have Daxton Hill right now going at the beginning of the third round. Like that's how far down. And I know he was a slow starter. I know he started like in the mid third round, and he's been moving up boards because all the measurements and things like that happen, right? We start to get to know these players more. But he's still at the beginning of the third round for me. I like it. I like his speed. He's very aware. He's rangy. And again, I like his toughness. I worry about his size. And in the NFL, I worry about these teams saying, he's too small, that we're not sure enough, and that he continues to drop. And you see somebody in the third round get a steal because of a player like that. That's my take right now. But again, he has the ability, right? He has the ability. I just worry about that size. Yeah. My player comp for him, by the way, is MJ Stewart, who was picked out of North Carolina. He was picked in the second round. Similar build. He's played with the Browns the past couple of years. He's been okay, but hasn't kind of latched on. I think he can be better than that, but I do worry about the size, especially in the NFL with how physical it is, obviously.
Yeah, I like the cornerback pick. I would have went with what our boy kneecap Jeremy B over here in the chat said. I am loving the tape more and more that I see of Kier Elam, the cornerback from Florida. I think he does drop to that spot. I would rather him at 29, but at 30, I will take. I will take the guy that we talked a lot about on Friday's show. And if you missed it, please head on over to YouTube or any podcasting platform. It is there. We ranked the top 10 edge rushers in this draft. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs desperately need to address their pass rush and take this man, David Ojabo from Michigan. This guy, we talk about him potentially falling in this draft. Well, if you're Kansas City, do not let this man fall. He could still play during the season. And we've already talked a whole lot about what Ojabo brings. He obviously is a very athletic defensive end, 11 sacks at Michigan this past season. He brings speed, intensity. He's great. But Kansas City desperately needs a pass rush. You might be losing Melvin Ingram. They haven't re-signed him. Who knows if he's coming back or not. You ranked 30th in the NFL last season in sacks. This is a team that desperately needs a pass rush. 29th in the league last year in sacks. This team desperately needs a pass rush, so they need to go out and get it. You got the extra picks now for what you traded up for Tyreek Hill for. Now go get your pass rush, because you are going up against a team in a division where you look everywhere else. I would say Kansas City has the worst pass rush out of all the teams in the AFC West, right there with Denver. I would say both Denver and Kansas City might be jostling for position for the worst pass rush in the AFC West, right? That's fair. Go get you a David Ojabo. Fix that problem.
My only worry is you're not technically fixing that problem. And if they're as bad as you say, why would they not attack that now? I get how good David Ojabo is going to be, but can they really, if they need it that bad, can they really afford to wait on that when they can get other positions that can help them at this point in time? We said it on Friday, David Ojabo is going to be elite. But if you need edge rush that bad, are you going to get a guy that might make it back in time for the playoffs or that you can't use till next year? Or are you going to get a defensive back or something that can help you day one?
Well, his earliest that he can come back is 6. They say 6 months is the earliest that man can come back. So, I mean, it's not crazy that
I love
to say
the
that
pick.
he's gonna...
I love the pick. I think if every team in the first round passes on David Ojabo, they made a mistake. I'm going to keep saying it. This dude is diverse in his pass rush, and he's so raw still. Like, he is just right now, go on the field and say, go get the quarterback. He's only played 20 games. Obviously, that's a concern for most people, right, is the lack of experience. And then against the run, he still has some play recognition issue type stuff. But 11 sacks last year, 5.5 forced fumbles, and only a one-year starter. He tore his Achilles, so everybody's worried about that injury. Again, I just saw what Cam Akers did. If I'm Kansas City, I look at him and I say, this is a perfect time to get a pass rusher that I believe should have been top 10. I believe he should be top 10 in this draft, and you can get him, and you're Kansas City. So you're probably going to win enough games. You probably need him to step in week one and say, go do something. You can wait till middle of the season, start him out on the QB list, and then say, okay, come in, and all you have to do, I'm asking you to do one job your rookie year. Just go get the quarterback, right? We'll put you in on third downs. You don't have to play a whole lot, but this is, to me, I loved this pick. This is who I almost went, but I decided not to.
And just for Chiefs fans to feel okay with this pick, if everyone's might be hating me for it, this man had a higher pass rush win percentage than Jermaine Johnson, who is arguably someone who's going to be picked in the middle of the first round, and Trayvon Walker, who is now being talked about as the number 1 overall pick. So David Ojabo last year had a better win percentage on pass rushing than the first overall pick potentially, and someone who's going to be roughly in the teens. So if
There's
you can
many
get
people
them,
that say he's going to be better than Aiden Hutchinson, just pure
Yeah.
pass rushing, not as an overall player, but as a pass rusher. I'll tell you right now, I love to do player comps. You asked me the other day who my player comp was for him, and I didn't have an answer because I hadn't really thought about it. It's Robert Quinn. And Robert Quinn can get to the quarterback. Robert Quinn's not great against the run. Robert Quinn is not somebody you look at as like, oh, this is like a guy that is known as being some Hall of Famer. But you go look at Robert Quinn's pass rush and his production as a pass rusher, it is elite. And I think that's the kind of player that you're going to get from David Ojabo.
You can't let him fall. If you're the Chiefs, you cannot let him fall. But Aaron, who do you?
McShay has him right now in the second round. I don't agree. But it was just something I noted today.
And that's
very
what I'm
fair
saying.
for those teams that are worried about that injury, right? Because that's what it is. But that speaks to how good he is. That you're still projected in the second round and you tore your Achilles. Like, you know what I mean? That's the reason you fall that far. And I like I said, at Kansas City with 2 picks in the first round, why not go get him there? You still have another pick, the very next pick.
Yep. And where would you have the Chiefs going, Aaron?
So I didn't address the first round. I let you guys kind of take over for the first round. I'm more of I want to do a later round guy. I want to talk about a guy in round 2 who comes from your school. Yeah, whatever. Roll Tide. For me, it's Christian Harris, linebacker out of Alabama. Again, Christian Harris, you're talking about a guy that's 6 foot 226 with speed, can play tight to the defensive line, and he doesn't get caught up in those big offensive lineman blocks. He knows how to use his length and physicality to get off of them. He plays too high at times. He's a little bit high, so guys can get to him, but he struggles against pulling linemen. So this is a guy you want to get in space, right? A guy with 80 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss. He knows how to get through the line of scrimmage, and when he's in space, he can do damage. So you let him be free. You get some defensive linemen that are big in front of him, like a Chris Jones, and who takes up 2 or 3 blockers. And this guy is going to come downhill. He's going to make tackles, and he's going to feel comfortable doing it. I like Christian Harris a lot. As AJ spoke to about Hill moving up, I think this is another guy that's moving up on guys' boards, and I really like what I see. I think Kansas City needs help at the linebacker position. You're talking about they lost Anthony Hitchens. There's nobody. They're Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, and that's it. You look beyond that, there's really nobody. And we saw the impact Nick Bolton had. If you can line this guy up with a Nick Bolton, that could be huge. So, give me some Christian Harris.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like obviously. Well, you know how I like Christian Harris. So.
I liked him to compare him to DeAndre Levy. I don't know if you guys remember DeAndre Levy out of Wisconsin, played for Detroit for like 8 seasons. He's that type of player with much more upside.
Really good player. Deep.
I told you I like player comps.
It's a good stock, like that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. From a good school to a good NFL team, it could do wonders for him. So I'm a fan.
I think that there's something that we have to talk about here, though, before we move on to our next team about the Chiefs. In order, I specifically did this in our doc, that AJ had the 29th pick, and I was okay with that, and then moved to the 30th pick with Ojabo, and then you took a linebacker with that second round pick. None of us, if the Chiefs were to do what we just did, they did not take a wide receiver with their first 3 picks, and now Chiefs fans might be questioning this. What would you say to that?
Round, didn't he? Oh, you did.
No, he went second round. Aaron went second round. So first 3 picks, no wide receiver after trading Tyreek Hill and getting a bunch of picks. What do you have to say about that, Aaron? Okay. Just who cares? Okay.
I mean, who cares? Like, you signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You signed Juju Smith-Schuster. You're returning a Mecole Hardman, and you have Travis Kelce. I mean, that's
and And you have Patrick Mahomes throwing those guys the ball, so that automatically upgrades
I'm
everybody.
Specifically talking about the position. The fact of the matter is they can still take a flyer on a receiver late. Like I mentioned, they have 8 picks in the first four rounds. So third, fourth round, there's some other guys they might be able to fill in there. But if you're not getting one of the top 5 guys, in the wide receiver position, anyways, there is a bit of a drop off. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think any of those guys, the top 5, are going to be available when Kansas City comes to pick at 28 and 20 or 29 and 30. I don't. I think those receivers are going to go early, and then you have kind of a drop off. So I think there's time for them. I don't think Kansas City's a team that needs that. Right? I think Patrick Mahomes will make them be whatever he needs them to be.
So I've heard a lot about Christian Watson here, and he's climbing up boards and whatnot. I don't need to go into that. But if you remember when we were talking about setting the dock up and everything, I told Aaron to wait on my Kansas City. I was still going in. I had Sky Moore here out of Western Michigan at first. He's another guy that's been climbing up, and people are liking what he's doing. And when I'm just sitting there watching him, not that he's a bad receiver, he's probably going to make some team in the second round really happy. I just didn't really feel like in the first round that there was a need for them to go grab a wide receiver because Marquez Valdes-Scantling had Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers was married to Devontae Adams. It was very hard for him to look away from him, and even when he did, it was Allen Lazard. Juju Smith-Schuster, when he's not injured, he's a good receiver. Say what you want about the guy mentally, maturity-wise, he's a good receiver. And then we know that they love Mecole Hardman. He just needed some opportunity. Maybe now him being in that speed level will give him a couple more opportunities. So I think they can wait. They take one of those picks in the second round for a wide receiver, but I don't think it's something they have to address in the first round.